Who else is helping him? This sort of Irish working class, unionized kind of guy, and big city, northern capitalists with their money right here. It isn't one person, it isn't those nasty settlers and their racists and all that kind of stuff. It is a combination of largely economic forces that are going to be right? How does banking, railroads, and industrialization matter? Banking is probably the most odd one because you would today, in 2012, we have one currency, the United States dollar. That was not the case in the 19th century. There were banks all over the place. Corpus Christi probably had a half a dozen different currencies. Bob's currency, the Bank of Corpus Christi's currency, Flunky's currency. If you used it, if you saw it as valuable, it was currency. And there's all these. They're all over the states and cities, and there's dozens of them around the country. Do you know that a Blunky dollar is more valuable or less valuable than a McDonald's dollar or a United States dollar? No. If you're a capitalist, that's the thing you hate the most, uncertainty. Well, I'm spending $100, but I'm getting back these Blunky dollars. What the hell are these things worth? Oh, well, they're worth bucking in Corpus Christi. They're not worth crap here in New York. I mean, we need to find a standardized currency. During the war, right, I mentioned this, right, how radical the Republicans were. During the war, what these Republicans do is to basically nationalize and standardize our economy on the US dollar. How do they do this? They slap a tax. 10% tax on any currency that's out there. And it's really a penalty. It's basically saying that you can get paid in Blunky dollars, you can get paid in Corpus Christi dollars, but they're only worth 90 cents on the dollar. So if you want to be loyal to your local bank and still get paid in Blunky dollars or whatever, fine, but you're giving back 10% to us. Or you can use American currency, US currency, and that will be legal tender. That's a pretty radical change. It's nationalizing the economy. Today, in 2012, we look at that and go, yeah, no big, Blunky. Right? Everybody knows that. They didn't at this point in time. And the thing to remember as historians is to recapture that sense of saying, wait a minute, why the hell do I have to use a US dollar? Because somebody somewhere said we did. With those dollars, what do? You have a choice of where you're going to invest. And what are Northerners going to invest in? They're going to invest in things that are going to return more money. I'm a freedman. I want to be left alone. Great. I ain't leaving you alone. Right? I'm not paying for any yeoman farm. That is not a good return on my investment. What do I want? I want to invest on things that are going to get the southern plantation economy up and running again. That's where the money is. That's where you're going to make cash. Right? Staple crop agriculture. Big fields of one thing. Just like in Iowa and what have you. The biggest example of this, railroads. Here's the great state of Texas. All those red lines right there are going to be connected for the first time following the Civil War. Before the Civil War, most of them were spurs. Most of them were these little squiggly things that go a couple hundred yards or a couple hundred miles, at tops. What does this do? Why is this significant? What is it about this railroad that does it? Imagine if you were in Corpus Christi. You're living here in Corpus Christi before the war. You made barrels. You're a cooper. And it took you a day, but you made a really great barrel. And you say, well, how much is my day's labor worth? Let's say it's $2. So you want a barrel, I can sell you a barrel for $2, takes me a day to make it. It's a beautiful barrel, handmade, great. Right? Now all of a sudden, what can happen in Corpus Christi? Well, choo-choo can go all the way from Memphis, or from Atlanta, all the way down to Corpus Christi, open up its doors. Here are 200 barrels, 10 cents each. Right? What has that done? That has thrown me, Mr. Cooper, into a national economy. Just like today, we are in an international economy. There are more competitors. What do I do as a barrel maker? I'm SOL. I got to find a way in which to make money doing something different. It also can pick up a whole lot of sorghum and corn and rice and what have you and ship it up to international markets. The railroads are going to connect the United States into a single economy. That is not the way it was in the South before the Civil War. It's local. Right? So railroads, banking, all of these are going to force economic changes. Industrialization. I will pay as long as I'm looking at somebody who says, no, I want to make money in terms of an economic system. James Duke, in addition to founding one of the most hated universities in all of history now, Duke University. He's the endowing. Most of the major privates that are out there, at Vanderbilt and all these, they're all Robert Barons. They're all these people that made millions during the Gilded Age and endowed universities in their namesake. What were they industrializing around Duke's plantation, former slave owner and all the rest of that kind of stuff? Basically the processing of tobacco. Right? You could grow tobacco. I don't know if you guys know this, but you can take these little plants and roll them up and smoke them. I mean, it's a sort of an interesting thing. By and large, what he is doing is he's taking this and adding another step. It's not complex. It's not making steel or a light pen or a cell phone. Those are value added. Those are high industry technologies. What they're doing is basically taking plant matter, rolling it up, and selling it. And in this case, Duke's innovation is not to make the big cigars, but to make El Presidente, right? You know, a cigar, but what? Not a big cigar, but a little cigar. What should we call it? Little cigar? No. Call it a cigarette. Right? You know, that's the term. Duke made his millions selling ciggies. Right? What kind of industrialization is this? This is not high tech. You don't need a lot of technology. You don't need, Scottish engineers. Anybody in the engineering program? You are not welcome here because there's nothing here that is all that complex. Pretty simple stuff. Okay? That's the level of industrialization that we're going to see in the South. Why? Because if they tried to do anything more complex, they would start competing with Northern capitalism. Andrew Carnegie makes steel. Birmingham, Alabama. Is that a competitor? More considered? Yeah. Really southern, Sweet Home, Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama has a steel industry that's beginning to arise. Local industrialists. Andrew Carnegie destroys it. Literally just destroys that industry because they're competitors. This isn't competition. This is dealing with but it's making money. It's productive use. It's exactly what you would do if you had a colony, right? What do the American colonies produce? Cotton, tobacco, sugar, rice, right? We didn't manufacture stuff. Britain did. That's exactly what you see in terms of the relationship. The laborers in the South are not going to be valued at all. And again, that recurring legacy, hard work and hard labor for slaves. Most of the industrial laborers in the South are women and children. And again, you look at this, it's a pretty simple loom, has been around for centuries. Right? All they're doing is taking cotton, stringing it out, and turning it into cloth. There's no real technological innovation going on here. You needed little hands, so women and children were great. If your workers are women and children, first of all, they can't vote. Second of all, they're socially second-class citizens. They sure as hell aren't going to argue for workers' rights and safety and 8-hour workday and unionization. You don't see the same kind of leverage in a worker like this because if she gets pissed off at her job, excuse me, fire her, get rid of her. There's 10 more that can hire behind her. Right? Not so if you are a very skilled iron mechanic in a northern industry. You quit, or a lot of you like you quit, the job doesn't get done. Right? So there is a difference in terms of the economic relationship we're seeing during this development. The key question, obviously, is dealing with these two major populations, the freedmen and southern whites, not elite southern whites. Freedmen are in a difficult situation. What do they want? What is it that they're as high as goal? We'll talk about this today. Man, what do the freedmen want?
Reconstruct their families.
Reconstruct human dignity, right? Yeoman farmers. That is the key thing for them. What do they not want to do? They don't want to go back to gang labor like we're seeing here in Cuba. This is in essence a motion picture of slavery. They're not slaves in Cuba in 1898, but they're as close as you're going to get to slavery. Right? Why do they not want to work like this? Because it is grueling, first of all, but also because your women, your wives, your daughters, your children are back under the guise and control of people who will take advantage of them in a lot of different ways. They wanted to avoid this. What do they have? What is their greatest asset? Skills, thank you. And really important skills. They know how to raise these crops in ways that most people don't. They want individual freedom. They have a skill to turn around. There's an agreement reached, a compromise. It's a compromise that really favors the landowner. Someone has land, they need it to be worked. They set aside a portion. See, let's say you have 500 acres. And you got 50 families here. You set aside 10 acres each. And you say, you work this territory. We're going to leave you completely alone. You want to live however you want to live. You get your family back together, good, that's what I want. There's going to be a share of everything you make that is going to be returned to you. And here's the contract, right? A piece of paper. I want you to sign it. And it says that every year you're going to present to me a bale of cotton. Bale of cotton is way bigger than 10 acres, right? 500 pounds of cotton. You sign it, right? At the end of the year, you better show up with 500 pounds of cotton. If you don't, what happens? I showed up with 480 pounds. That's fine, monkey. We'll just take that 20 and add it to next year's contract. Next year I do 20 pounds. I come in with 420. You can get the point. What happens to the majority? Not all of them. Some of these families are going to get out of this cycle of poverty, but 99%, probably not that many, 97%, are going to get tied to the land and tied to these sharecropping systems because they can't find a way out. Is there cheating going on? Of course there's cheating going on. Right? Are you taking advantage of the fact that somebody's illiterate, can't read a contract, barely can sign their name? Of course you are. Southern blacks are getting a key component of what they want. Is it smart? Is it smart to send your kid to school? It adds to the reasons why they're making the decisions that they're making. What has happened? The former landowner is now sort of a broker, an in-between guy. And they're going to get tied to this land. Unlike today, your parents raised this huge debt on their Visa card or something like that. You're not responsible for it. Right? In those days, you were. If Dad died with debt, you weren't going anywhere. You weren't picking up and moving out of Corpus Christi. You didn't have political mobility or physical mobility. Right? And what you see is the sharecropping system for those with skills. The sharecropping system is going to dominate in the South. This is the same region. If you were looking at this geologically, or I guess I don't know what it is, the soil content. When you dig out here in Corpus Christi, you get clay at about 6 inches. It's really kind of bad soil for anything that you're going to try and dig in. Just give it our elevation. This soil right here is real rich and loamy. If you've ever been in this part of Texas, real black, loamy, great growing soil. It is the perfect place in which sharecropping is going to dominate because what? The landowner gets what they want. The sharecropper gets a portion of what they want. Is there any need, is there any desire for a sharecropper? You're born in a sharecropper family. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to learn new things. I'm going to improve the way in which I grow crops. No, there's no financial incentive to do that. The reason you guys are here, arguably, is because there's a financial incentive for doing well. That is gone. And this entire population gets into this endless loop of saying, I got no reason to work harder, to do anything. Nor does the landowner have any reason to improve that land. But they're consistently putting out enough staple crops to get the American economy going, at least in this region. 4 million freedmen are basically going to get caught within this system. And are going to stay there for the next 60 years. What about Southern whites? Before the war, Mr. Cooper, building Cooper's barrels down there, I should say, in Corpus Christi, did what? By and large, when I owned land, and every white pretty much owned some chunk of land, I would take care of myself. I would be a self-sustaining farmer. I'd grow chickens and hogs and what have you. I wouldn't sell it to the marketplace because there was no marketplace to sell it to. If I had a little extra, if I had a couple of chickens or I had a couple of hogs or something like that, I could go to the plantation economy and sell it to them. So it's very local. When the plantation is gone and busted up into these little shareholding systems, what asset do these people have? Do they have any asset? They certainly don't know how to grow cotton. They're not growing cotton on their fields. They're growing food. They're growing stuff. They have land. That's an asset, right? It's like your car out there. It's an asset. It's a marketable asset. But they don't have the ability to grow cotton or staple crops. They have to borrow money. They have to borrow seeds. They have to borrow money to buy seeds, to buy tools, to do all the things to become small. You cannot grow. Ladies, are you done talking? All class period. Do not come to class and sit here and jabber all the time. It's not freaking 8th grade. What these people have is the land and the skills necessary to work that land that have to be borrowed. Not from a landowner, but from a merchant. From somebody who's connected to the banking system, somebody who's connected to the railroad system. They're going to put a lien. They're going to borrow against their land. Just like your car. If you have a debt on your car, if you're paying your car payment, There's a lien on your car. You can't just simply go and sell it and just walk away with cash. Right? So this relationship is very similar to what we see in the freedmen. They're going to be signing contracts. They're going to be providing cotton and sugar and staple crops. They too, 3%, 5%, hell, 10% are going to be successful in this. 90% of them are not. And they too are going to be drawn into this cycle of dependency. This is 90% of the Southern population. No profit motive, no desire to go to college, no desire to get out. You can't move because you're tied to the debt of your land. When you look at this comparisons, you're looking at blacks and whites. You're looking at what they bring to the party. Right? What they need. They need land, they need the tools and the seeds necessary to grow on those lands. Both of them are going to borrow money or otherwise legally contract themselves to this, and both of them are going to get, in large measure, tied to the South without any reason or opportunity in which to get out. Why? Because they're stupid, because they're bad, because they're mean. No, because the economic system is going to reward those kinds of activities. All right. Summarizing this, what are the critical social and economic factors? We're not talking about politics. Again, we're talking about economics. We're talking about an economic system of the North which is radical. When we get to the economic description, you're going to see how radical. Why are we scared by this? Because we've been doing it for 150 years. You and I were born into it. And we've always lived in a industrial capitalist society. This population is going in for the first time. Right? But it dominates the developments of what we see in Reconstruction itself. How does it change the South? And again, I keep striking this sort of ironic point. Racism gets worse. If they look exactly the same in terms of their wealth, and if they have these, when you die, you leave a will, and there's a court that's going to decide who gets what. You get this listing of property. And there's tons of these things. You can find them in archives all over the country. What you see, if I just looked at a list, you could not tell. They had a bucket. I mean, literally, the poverty's made. They had a bucket and a broom and a pair of overalls and, whatever, a cat. Right? That's what they're gonna will. You could not tell if they were white or black based on their economic status. That's why racism becomes much more important. At least I ain't black. Right? At least I'm somebody you can walk down the city sidewalks and not have to get forced off. Those kinds of issues are going to become much more important for a population that doesn't have the economic wherewithal. Southern elite is barely affected by this, and I end today with just that image. Right? These folks are going to be trapped. Just like the freedom population, are going to be trapped in a Southern economy that is going to go nowhere for the next 60 years. And they are literally a colonial dependent of Northern society. All right, pick this up, finish it up. Sorry, I'm going to